Hi, I'm AJ Nash, digital intelligence advocate for Authenticate. And today I've got another Intel drop. So today I want to talk a little about China. Now, I'm not here to vilify China. That's not going to be the point of this discussion. China is an economic adversary of the United States, and the same is true in reverse. That's just how the world works. There's a lot of competition. But I've had some opportunities to work on Chinese targets in the past, and I've always really enjoyed working to understand China a little bit better. It's an interesting culture, interesting people. They certainly do things differently than we do. But one thing that I loved about working on targets that were Chinese-related targets is they do this thing called the 5-year plan. Every 5 years, as you can imagine, they come up with this giant plan for the country and what they're going to do next. This what you see here. If you know Mandarin, you probably know what it is. Otherwise, you probably have no idea. But the 15th 5-year plan is in production now, and the basics of it, the overarching thought processes for China have been released. And so this is the original Mandarin version, and you can download it and have it translated. Or for those who speak and read Mandarin, you've got it right there. But if you don't, as I don't, here's an English version of it. So this is the reason I really love this. China tells you what their plans are going to be for the next 5 years, what they're prioritizing, what matters to them. You might say, why are you telling me this, AJ? Why do I care about this? Well, if you're involved in cybersecurity at all, you care because this is a roadmap for what matters to China. And oftentimes this feeds what the Chinese threat actors, the government-related ones at least, are going to focus on in the next 5 years. So, for instance, 10 years ago, the China 5-year plan included a big push towards, they have an aging population. So they wanted to work on gerontology and how to better care for an aging population. They had in their concerns about nuclear technologies, concerns about creditworthiness, trying to better understand how to calculate creditworthiness and build a better credit system. Well, not surprisingly, over those next 5 years, the Chinese government was accused of implicated in cyber attacks on credit companies, banks, on companies that had interests in Scientology or in gerontology. They had all the things that they pointed out they cared about. Green energy comes up occasionally. If it's something that's in the 5-year plan, it's a good chance it's something that their cyber actors are going to get involved in. So if you're in cybersecurity, I highly recommend reading the China 5-year plan and taking a look and trying to figure out where you might fit in, because it may give you some insights into the priorities of the Chinese government and therefore whether you're going to fit in there. So if we look at this year's run out, and this isn't the final China 5-year plan, by the way, that'll actually come out in March, but they give the overview in October, and it's pretty solid usually. They'll give you a review of the last 5-year plan and how they feel like they've accomplished what they've gone through here. And I'm going to skim through pretty quickly on some of the stuff. Major objectives for economic development for the 5-year plan. And we'll start seeing things in here, some core principles, putting people first, pursuing high quality development. That's all, that's fine. That's governmental speak everywhere around the world. It's really not going to affect what we're looking for here today. You get into some of the major objectives here. Substantial improvements in scientific and technological self-reliance and strength. Now, China hasn't been known for being innovators. The Chinese do a pretty good job of stealing IP and building off of that. They're not really known for innovation, but they do often talk in the 5-year plan about wanting to go that direction at least. Interesting to see how that's going to go. Further improvements in quality of life. I got to take a look and see if there's anything interesting in there. Optimization will come up. Social security system. A good chance that they're going to look for information from others on how other countries have been successful in that area. Modernizing industrial system, reinforcing foundations of a real economy. A lot of this will be fluff, I imagine. R&D comes up over and over again, of course. Things like AI are going to come up. I'm sure if we go further down, we're going to get into some green energy discussions. Let's see. Greater self-reliance and strength in science and technology. So again, a lot of self-reliance this time. So it might be interesting to see if the Chinese really do try to push further towards innovation in the next 5 years. It's not easy to do. It hasn't been traditionally the way China has operated. They will stand on the shoulders of others, even if they had to climb up there without permission. Sometimes it's an efficient way to move forward when you're talking about technological advances, at least. Advancing the Digital China Initiative, domestic market. A lot of this is economics, effective investment, production, high standard socialist marketing. I want to get down to, I know there's something in here on green energy, and I'm sure there's something in here on AI. Mutually beneficial cooperation. So that talks a bit about their foreign trade and foreign relations and where they want to go there, trying to continue to grow that. That ends up being very interesting because for countries that might be engaged in foreign relations conversations with the Chinese government, there's a good chance that you'll have Chinese threat actors that will try to compromise you in advance so that they can get talking points. They know what you're going to speak about, what your priorities are, what your interests are. Incidentally, China's not alone in doing that. Again, I'm not here to vilify China. I just happen to like this plan because they lay it out pretty clearly on what they're going to do. Rural modernization, agriculture. A lot of discussions in here about their agriculture needing to do a better job, ensuring the policies aimed at strengthening agriculture, benefiting farmers, enriching rural areas. They, again, will probably look to other countries that have had some successes in this area and try to figure out what they do well. If they can partner and get that information, above board, I'm sure they'd be happy to. But again, the two-pronged approach often with a lot of our threat actors is we'll try to get it if you're willing to work with us, but if you won't work with us, then we'll just try to take it. The Chinese have been known to do that in the past. Many countries have. I won't say most. Many countries have done that. Let's see what else we've got down here. People-centered urbanization, cultural creativity. That's probably not going to impact us very much. Public well-being and promoting common prosperity. That's, socialism in a nutshell, if it works. Advancing the Health China initiative. So if I worked in the healthcare industry, I'd want to dig into this, and especially now, but then in the future when the full 5-year plan comes out too. So strengthen comprehensive prevention and control of chronic diseases, increase overall capacity in terms of emergency treatment, first aid, blood supply, other aspects of emergency response. Again, there's a very good chance they'll be looking at places that do that already and trying to understand. Could be academic cooperation. It could also be just trying to steal the information if necessary. High quality population development, access to public. Let's see. Building beautiful China. Working actively and prudently towards peaking carbon emissions. So this is where we're getting to some of the green energy discussions that they're going to have here. Expanding the carbon emission trade exchange. Accelerating the shift to eco-friendly production practices and lifestyles. So if I was in an industry, if I produced solar panels, green energy of some kind, I'd be concerned. This is continuing to be a priority for China, so I would have to assume that there's a chance that my IP might be of interest to the Chinese government. And so I would want to better understand how 2PLA and 3PLA operate, perhaps, or MSS operate. So I can be prepared for them possibly trying to take my IP and get an advantage, get a head start on these priorities they have. Because these are going to be the priorities for China for the next 5 years. Again, this is a map that they put together and they follow it pretty well. It's been very easy as somebody who works in the government space to pay attention to some of these things. Achieving the centenary goals of the PLA modernization. So again, military modernization. China, has a pretty solid military. They have a large military and somewhat modern, but most of their technologies, they've had some help along the way. They don't like to do the full R&D cycle. They're very happy to take somebody else's work, or at least a big chunk of it. So whenever you see things in here about what they're trying to advance, if they were trying to advance ground forces, tank technologies, for instance, or they're trying to, get to the 5th generation fighter jets, for instance, anything like that, then you have to know if you're in the defense space that that's something they're going to be interested in coming after. And granted, most people in defense probably already know that. Rallying the whole party, that's very rah-rah political work. Social democracy and law. Prosperity and stability. In Hong Kong and Macau, Hong Kong's always interesting when they show up. And then you also look where Taiwan's going to be. I'm sure they'll be in here somewhere. Resolving the Taiwan question. So that looks like a priority for the next 5 years. Cross-strait relations. Something to look for. Shared future of humanity. A lot of it is, political fluffy words. So anyway, this is the point I'm making here is this is like a bit of a playbook, right, for what China is going to be interested in the next 5 years. They're one of the few countries that does this. I always found it fascinating that they choose to do so. It's meant to be messaging to their own people, but some of it's certainly messaging for the rest of the world as well. But if you're in the cybersecurity business, The China 5-year plan really should be something that you care about and that you think about, because you're going to end up learning very quickly how important this is to China, and therefore how important it's going to be to you. So I highly recommend downloading this document. It's easy to find, and reading it cover to cover. I mean, some of it you'll skim through, as I just did here, some of the political pieces, but I highly recommend reading it cover to cover. And then I believe in March, give or take, news will come out about it, that the final piece will be there. These are definitely worth digging into. And don't be tempted to be lazy and just take somebody else's summaries of these things. Actually go read the documents yourself. Summarization, you can lose some of the things that matter to you. Somebody might not have thought that a particular chapter or verse or line was important because it didn't suit their needs, or not by any negative reasons, just didn't seem important to them. But it might be the most important thing to you and your business. So, if you're in the financial sector, if you're in healthcare, if you're in manufacturing, all the industries that come to mind, agriculture, there's a good chance you're going to find yourself in here someplace. And it's good to know what matters, because it can really change what your intel priority is going to be for the next 5 years, at least as they relate to China. So anyway, that's my intel drop for today. Check out the China 5-year plan. It's the 15th 5-year plan, by the way. If you go Googling it, you'll come up with 14th otherwise, and that's the last one. They're just finishing with the 15th 5-year plan. I recommend downloading it, reading it, getting to know it. And this is the kind of thing that intel professionals often use to help us understand what we think is coming next, and to build our analysis off of that. All right, well, that's it for today. That's the Intel Drop. I'm AJ Nash with Authenticate. Thanks for stopping by and having a listen. And until next time, stay vigilant.